My pregnant wife called saying she hurt herself at work and her arms were going numb, so I picked her up and by the time we got to the ER she couldn't feel her legs and they were spasming uncontrollably. Now, she might never walk again. Posted by you/TangentPrism. My pregnant wife works in the medical field. Got a call a couple days ago that she hurt herself and her arms were hurting and starting to go numb. She said she talked to her doctor and was waiting for them to call back. I told her to let me know if I needed to come get her or not. An hour later she says they told her it is probably nothing, but she wanted to go home. I go to pick her up, and when I get there she's in tears and can't move her arms and can't feel or move her fingers. As we walk outside, I told her we're going to the ER. We get to the ER, and between work and the ER she can no longer feel her legs, and they are uncontrollably spasming every 3 to 5 seconds. They call a med alert crew, or something like that, and they lift her out of the car and onto a stretcher. We go inside and they check her out and do an ultrasound and say baby is fine, strong heartbeat. A couple hours later they get her into an MRI and check out her spine. The results come back clear with no visible signs of damage. We've been here for 36 hours and they are clueless, neurologist's exact word, as to what is going on. She can't feel or move anything below her chest. She can move her arms up to her wrists, but can't move her fingers, no twitch, no squeeze, or anything else. The doctor is saying she doesn't think it will be lasting, but she can't guarantee anything. At this time, I'm terrified and beyond scared that she may not walk again or have any use of her extremities. I'm trying to stay calm and strong for her, but when she sleeps I find myself, more often than not, in tears. I walked downstairs and broke down talking to a stranger, and he stopped me and gave me a hug, and I couldn't help but cling to him, probably longer than he would have liked. If you're a praying person, please send one our way. We discussed Guillain-Barré syndrome with the neurologist, and the doctor both agreed to rule it out. Their reasoning was this was rapidly onset, not gradual. It also started in her hands and arms and later moved to her legs and feet. Guillain-Barré syndrome generally starts over time and in the feet first and then works upwards. I asked about transverse myelitis. They ruled it out also, but don't remember the reasoning. They are performing a lumbar MRI currently. The neurologist wanted to get a complete picture of everything to help rule things out. He also ordered a lumbar puncture, known as a spinal tap, to rule out things like meningitis. Apologies for the short update. I only had a few minutes to write this out. I'll update again as I get more info. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, how did she hurt herself? Ops response, we don't really know. She said she was with a patient and heard a pop in her back and shoulder, and immediately lost strength in her hands, and it quickly deteriorated after that. Commenter 2, are her thyroid hormones normal? Ops response, they tested that too and nothing stood out. Op responds to multiple comments about possible multiple sclerosis. Ops response, we'll definitely ask about that. Thank you. Commenter 3, she may have also had a stroke. Check in the form of an MRI. Ops response, yeah, we've had an MRI done and there were no signs of a stroke or anything, so they ruled that out. I appreciate the thought though. Commenter 4, apparently pregnancy can cause paralysis in rare cases but treatable. Hopefully they find something in the labs. So sorry this is happening. Thoughts and prayers to you both. Update, nearly 1 month later. I posted several weeks ago about my pregnant wife having an accident, or whatever you'd call it, while at work. Quick overview, she heard and felt a pop in her shoulders and lost feeling in her arms and hands. I picked her up from work, and on the way to the hospital she lost feeling and movement in her legs. Got to the hospital and they did all kinds of tests including MRI, ultrasound, EEG, EMG, echocardiogram, EKG, and so many others. They also confirmed baby was good. They decided, wrongly, read more below, on functional neurological disorder. They planned on physical therapy being the best course of action. More to the story, they reached out to the inpatient rehab facility near us and they denied us going there. They also reached out to several places within neighboring states and they all denied us as well. Our next option would be skilled nursing, but our insurance didn't cover that and it would have cost $2,000 per week and a minimum of 3 months at a time. They also told us my insurance was not covering the hospital stay either. Talk about a kick in the nuts. Over the last 7 to 8 years I've made friends with a couple physical therapists here in town. I reached out to my neighbor and she works at a different type of facility, but had friends that work there. She said she'd reach out and find out more info. I also made friends with a guy that worked at another physical therapy facility here in town. He was a groomsman in my wedding, and I was one in his also. I reached out to him to see if he knew anyone that worked at the local inpatient rehab facility. He was on vacation and his wife, a physical therapist at the hospital, was sitting next to him. She said she'd make some calls and let me know. Skipping some details in the middle here because they don't matter much. The next day we get a call saying she was approved for the inpatient rehab facility we were denied it in the first place. My wife and I were talking and my friend's wife came up, and neither one of us knew where she worked. My wife said to Google her, so I did, and come to find out she worked at the inpatient rehab facility. Not just worked there, but was one of the top doctors there. She was the one that pulled the strings to get us there. They also said my other friend reached out and thought it was interesting that 2 different people were trying to pull strings that were not related or associated at all. We were finally transferred to the inpatient rehab facility, after 11 days at the hospital. While there we spoke to a new neurologist who wanted to order another MRI. It came back a couple days later. The doctor came in and told us she did not have functional neurological disorder. They said she had a spinal cord stroke. My friend and his wife brought us dinner that night and she wanted to answer questions we may have and said she wanted to transfer us to a better, more specialized facility. We were finally transferred to the spinal rehab facility, after 13 days. She is finally being treated for the correct diagnosis and in the correct location. They expect her to be here for the next 2 to 3 months. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, and then she should be able to walk again? Commenter 2, physical therapist here, potentially. Spinal cord strokes and infarcts are really rare, and I can't speak for Op's wife's prognosis obviously as I don't know them and I'm not their physical therapist. It can take months or years to regain function, but it is possible if she gets the care she needs and it was caught relatively early, which is a good indicator for a better outcome. Op's response, yeah, it's different for each patient and each issue, but we're hopeful. She's having spasms in her legs and they kick around a little. She can sense a touch but can't feel anything yet. The doctors are hopeful as well and have stated that if there was permanent loss, they wouldn't be kicking or spasming like they are. We were at therapy within 2 weeks, so we're hoping that was quick enough to get her back on her feet. Op on not knowing what a spinal cord stroke is prior to his wife's diagnosis. Op's response, we hadn't either. Apparently less than 1% of all strokes are spinal cord related. Commenter 3, while I am so glad to hear you guys found the right diagnosis and are getting the treatment needed, I'm so sorry you and especially your wife are going through this, and having been basically ignored for 2 weeks on your wife's care. Kudos to the string pullers, they went above and beyond to make sure she is taken care of. Thank you for continuing to push for the proper care for your wife. Women often aren't believed with medical problems, especially a pregnant woman. Wishing for a healthy recovery and healthy baby. Commenter 4, that sounds so frightening. The baseline that baby is fine is one set of relief, but having a secure diagnosis and a plan to go forward to help treat it is surely a weight off your shoulders. Your wife is in safe hands, but be prepared to be feeling all kinds of shaky yourself at what you, too, have been going through.